Hey guys, my name is Nogan and welcome to my C++ series. I hope you guys are doing good. So in today's video, we are going to focus on talking about constructors in C++. If you guys haven't watched the previous video, I'll link out on top there. Go and check it out, because in the video we spoke about we spoke about like getters and sets in C++, like the get methods and also like the set methods, and how you can define them in a class scope eventually. But today we have to focus on something unique in C++, or let me say in object programming, which means it's called a constructor and a destructor. Now, a constructor in C++, in terms of like its use cases, you'll see how we define a constructor, and also you'll see like how we can use it by definition. Now, outside the main function here, I'm going to declare a class eventually first. The class name will be, let's say, parent. Okay, awesome. So the parent class here. Now this parent class, let me think. Okay, parent class is fine. So the parent class here. Now this parent class will do something. We'll just try to output a few things by saying some key things there. So basically here I'm going to say a public a specifier, a public. Now after this public specifier here, I'm going to just have like a function, a method, a void function. You say void display. Now this display function eventually just display this parent eventually here. Awesome. Okay, so let's just try and create now a object of this parent class in the main function here. So I'm gonna just say parent again, and say parent dot awesome display. Now let's run this and see what's happening. Awesome. As you can see, if you see now, if you're seeing unparented, the segment say unparent. Okay. Now guys, let's try and see the use case of a constructor. Let me just remove this for now. We also remove this here. Now, what is a constructor? A constructor is a member function of a class that has the same name as a class name. Now, you'll see eventually what it means when you say like a constructor has the same name as class name. Now, how do you define a constructor? You're going to say the class name, parent again. After parent, the brackets there, and afterwards give it the curly brackets like this, which means now in here we're defining a constructor. The constructor has the same name as the class name here. As you can see, parent has been defined as the class name, and also the constructor has also the same name convention as that. Now, what is important is that this constructor doesn't take any parameters, which means this brackets here are empty, as you can see. But we're giving this constructor now a definition, which means we're defining it now in this class scope here. Now, okay, so now in the main function here, let's try to define now another object now of this parent class here. Now in the main function here, I'm going to say now here parent class name parent again. So now adding a semicolon afterwards. Now something interesting is happening here. So guys, as you can see, this parent class object name here, parent, doesn't take any like, you can almost like say like any variable, which means, for example, as you said before, we use the parent object class name here as a means of now to access all those functionalities in the class of the function of void, as you see before. Now what's happening right now here, the parent object fundamentally now inherits all those properties, which means it can use this parent constructor now by default. This means an output. If you run this eventually now here, as you can see, we have now I'm a parent class eventually. The segment is printed out eventually on top here. So the function of a constructor, it is used to allocate the memory to an object, also in a class. But also this type of constructor here is called a default constructor, which means it does some functionalities, but now this constructor here doesn't take any arguments, which means any variables here. Now let me include another constructor again here. Let me just say parent again. Now before I give this one any values, let me just say public again here and include a few members. Let me say int. Let me just include another header file topic also before you can use this. Let me just say include string. Okay, I'm gonna say now here string name, string surname. Awesome. Now here, now this constructor is going to take a few arguments. Now I'm going to say here again string name and string again surname. Awesome. I'm going to define this constructor also here. Now, so eventually, as you can see, guys, we have two constructors now here. One, this constructor contains no arguments here, which means constructor contains or parameter. Okay. Now let's construct this one here. So it does not contain any arguments or parameter. Awesome. So let me say also here, let's say for example initialize variables also here. You just say here initialize to, let's say Ronnie, and also here Williams. Awesome. Now let's what you're gonna do eventually now here, when it gets used as a means of output. So we're gonna say eventually here, just say now name contains now name, and also surname contains now surname. Awesome. And I'm gonna say cout. Surname is okay. So eventually now here, in the output eventually, the name and surname are also here. Awesome. So now guys, what's gonna happen right now here, which means we have two constructors here. We have one that takes now parameters here, or arguments you can see here. And the other one doesn't take any parameters here, which means by it doesn't take any parameter, but now it still can have an output eventually you can see here. Now in the main function here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run this. As you can see, you'll see something interesting here. I'll run this. As you can see, the parent class still the output of now I'm a parent class still being outputted eventually here. Now the reason why is because remember, this object now here of parent only uses now this constructor. It doesn't take any parameters now by default, which means if I come here and I just do this and I say now here, let's say for example, I'm gonna say Ronnie Williams. So if I do this eventually here, if I do this and if I run this eventually here, you'll see something interesting here. Okay, as you can see now, he says now my name is Ronnie and surname is Williams. Awesome. Now let's just try and remove these, because we initialize them there by default eventually, as you can see. But even if we remove these ones also, initially now the compiler will know, because eventually now this has to be also inputted by the user. if you run this again, something interesting. There's no output there. Why is it? Remember, look at something here. The moment you put this thing as a means of now output, doesn't work, because remember, we didn't specify eventually by saying we want this to be inputted by the user. We just want to output the names eventually here. That's why I use them there. But this constructor takes now two parameters eventually, as you can see here. Now, remember in the previous video we spoke about the get and set methods eventually being used before. They can also be used as a means of implementation also here. Okay, so basically right now here, I'm going to eventually try now to eventually initialize again by using a few parameters. So now here, I'm going to just remove this parent again, constructor. Now I'm going to declare another variable here, another member here, a method, which means I'm going to just say here public again, keyword void display. Now I'm going to cut this from here, paste it here. Awesome. Now we're going to use this to initialize all our variables eventually as a means of argument here, as you can see. So now what is key about this also, because initially see we're getting a few errors here. This has to be now name and also surname. Awesome. Okay, so let me just now remove this one here. And also make this into now form of a constructors to take any arguments. Okay, I'm going to remove this also here. Now what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to say name again. I'm going to initialize now here only again. Surname. Yes. Awesome. So now we're using now this constructor, the one that doesn't take any, let's say now it doesn't take any arguments here. Say constructor doesn't contain arguments. Okay, but now we're using this to initialize eventually these two variables here of string, as you can see here. Now after doing this eventually here in the main function here, in order to see the output of this, because what you can do also here, let's say for example want to use this means of also an output based on the, because now in the parentheses there's no initialization of any arguments there, but we can also say here, we can say I am a parent class. Awesome. So after having that eventually here as a means of output here, now if I run this, you'll see something interesting also. There's still output eventually being displayed here. I'm a parent class, but now I want to also see the output of this displayed function of this of the name of the name and surname of Ronnie and Williams also. Now here I'm going to use the object of parent also as a means of output by saying parent dot display. After this again, now here if I run this, then you'll see again I'm a parent class, name is Ronnie and his name is Williams, you can see on top here. Awesome. So based on this, guys, you can see now constructors are very key. Now let's say for example I made my constructor into a private member. If it was private, eventually the use case of the constructor will not be possible, because now this constructor now here eventually is private. And if I run this, eventually is an error, because private members can be accessed outside the member class code, as you can see here. As you can see here. So you can access private members that are in the class scope, as you can see here. So basically what's happening is that now constructors have to be initialized in the form of a public member. So you can use them eventually as a form of initialization, and also to initialize any variables that have been declared now in the class scope, as you can see here. Now any type of function or method being declared in the same class scope can be used as a display method, as you can see on this function of display here. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope eventually you can see now that now constructors in C++ are very interesting form of programming. You can use them also to manipulate a few variables, initialize variables, and also you can use them eventually as a means of output. Now in the next video we'll speak about a destructor. Now a destructor is the inverse or opposite of a constructor, as we'll see. So guys, thank you for watching. You have a lovely day.